Hello, so I am sat here with Stuart from Hampton North. Stuart, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Stuart Mitchell, founder, CEO, president of Hampton North. We founded in September 2022. We're a cybersecurity search firm headquartered in Connecticut, but based all across the United States.
Diving into the vision, mission, and industry impact of setting up your own recruitment agency,
Yeah.
what do you think is something that is broken about the recruitment industry that you are actively trying to fix?
It's a good question. And I think the way I set up this business was really not for I don't build this company for the recruitment industry. I really build it with the security community in mind. I look at a lot of what's happening within hiring, within cybersecurity, and I think there's always problems. The problems are always evolving. It's not the same challenge potentially year in, year out. Historically, we've talked about a talent shortage. Now we're looking at challenging battles with AI and fake candidates. But really, we want to be at the forefront of solving security community hiring issues. And I think I look at a lot of why businesses are set up, and they're built with either the recruitment industry or the founder's pockets or some vision of exit in mind. My viewpoint is almost if we build it, they will come. And if we build something that's truly great, that's built for the security community, with the security community in mind and fixing problems for them, not creating problems for them, I think ultimately the long players will generate a lot of value and will create a legacy, which is something that from a motivation standpoint, I probably value legacy over money. And so I think if we can leave a lasting impact, which some people have done in our community, then I'll walk away whenever the end of the road is really proud.
Amazing. And thinking about the security community specifically, what kind of impact do you want your business to have on those people's lives?
So I think from the impact that we're trying to create, it's really about, we deal in radical candor. We're an incredibly honest organization. We want to be human first. You hear and see a lot about AI and how it's going to change recruitment, eradicate recruitment potentially. I'm all in on humanity. I'm all in on being a person, and that comes with mistakes, and that comes with not being for everybody. But what I want to do is be entirely authentic and be visible and be helpful and be useful. We could probably speed stuff up and get to the end faster with a lot of technology. I think as technology advances, people are going to shy away from that, and they're going to want the human approach. They're going to want someone to deliver bad news in the right way. They're going to want to be excited when somebody gets a job, and some of that is part of having that face-to-face, over the phone, Zoom-based interactions. And so I think the relationships that we're going to develop, we want to be around in 10 years. I'm bought into the infinite mindset, which is a Simon Sinek thing. So we build by the fact that we're going to run into people again, and the expectation of the interaction that you have with somebody today, how are they going to react to that 10 years from now? And a lot of that has to be humane in the way that you're delivering that. And some of that is delivering bad news the right way. And so that's what we want to be known and remembered for.
And just on that, do you ever have moments where you sit back and think, we've built something really special here?
This week is a good one. Only be with new faces coming into the business. I'm incredibly harsh on myself. I'm not overly sentimental, and I do forget to enjoy moments at times just because I'm focused on what's next. And I think that's why we've done as well as we've done. But I remember the one deal that didn't happen, not the 99 deals that did. And that's something that I need to get better at and something I'm actively working on. But every now and then I do have to look at what we've built. And some people are very good at reminding me that this was a business that I dreamt up out of my bedroom that is now becoming a living and breathing thing and changing people's lives. And it is pretty awesome.
Love that. Amazing. You've sort of alluded to the reasons why people want to build their own businesses. And obviously you've just talked about your beginning. What do you not want to be as a founder within recruitment?
So I want to be known as being an incredibly fair, kind person. That's really important to me. I don't want to be known for someone who values profit and image over people. I've held on to some people for too long. I'm very patient with people, clients that work for us, and if I was incredibly ruthless, would have made decisions on much earlier. So I don't want to be a leader that manages by spreadsheets. I don't want to be a leader and I think there's a lot of this in recruitment, that can't do the job anymore. Like, I still love the game. I am still loving bringing on new clients, helping find candidates. And I don't want to be that leader that tells people to do things that they wouldn't do themselves. I want to be someone who can dive in and help and be, to some level, at least in the short to medium term, the expert, right? I don't think that long term, maybe that's the play. But essentially, I don't want to be a, hey, do as I say, not as I do. Like that really turns me off. And I see that a lot in recruitment leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. So what gets you out of bed in the morning when you're thinking about leading your team and your company?
They hold me to a high standard, right? I've hired some incredible people, and, you know, some people look and they're like, how did you get these people? And I think that's where I have a real, like, yeah, wow, that's a great thing to hear from my perspective. So them holding me to a high standard is something where I can't skip leg day, basically, when it comes to hiring. So that gets me out of bed. You know, the opportunity that we have is so amazing, but there are also plenty of people who would love to take my lunch. So I am a competitive person. The concept, I want everyone to do really well, but not quite as well as me. And so the thought process, knowing that if I'm not bringing my A game every day, people will come from my people will come from my clients. That kind of bit of fear gets me out of bed. And then, look, I have a family that I love and friends that I love, and I want to create a great life for them. Look, I'm not chasing Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg type money, but I want to create a very comfortable, very enjoyable life for my family. And that is a really, really obvious motivator. When I wake up with my kid every morning, it's like, cool, I'm doing this all for you. And so that makes work really easy.
Great. And it's clear that you really want to build a high performance yet fair culture. What toxic things do you really want to leave behind that you may have experienced in the past?
Performance allowing bad behaviors is something that is rife in this industry. And I've fallen to this already, where I have ignored some behaviors because of performance and billing. And I think very quickly I realized that we're all going on a journey together. And whilst we all have our own unique ways to do things, the ultimate goal of how we treat people, both internally and externally, is so important. And so I really just need to make sure that whoever is coming on this journey is in step with that. And again, if you look at really we don't have a product or a service. So really we're built on reputation. And if that is not as A1 as we need it to be, and somebody is doing something that might be detrimental for a current or future colleague, I won't have that. So that's something that even if someone's billing $1 million, but they're hurting the lives or impacting negatively the lives of their peers, the money's not that.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of reputation, then obviously you've got a great reputation within that security community. If a candidate came to you and said, what would one of your employees say it was like working for you? What do you think they would say, but also what would be your nightmare answer?
Look, I think they would say that it's the best place to work in security recruiting. And I truly stand by that. And look, I have some wonderful competitors that I like and respect, and maybe in another world we would be working together. But this is the place to be, right? Both from a reputation, the caliber of their colleagues, the ease of how they can approach their customers because of who we are and what we're doing. That's what they'd say. We pay fantastically well. You know, we have a huge amount of upside. We've been on amazing trips, but it is a workplace first, right? Like, I think some recruitment companies are a little bit of a fun house and they do some deals. We do some deals and have a bit of fun, right? Like that's the way I would look at it. So if someone's looking for a business where Thursday, Friday beers, they all go on holiday together, some people live together, that's not us. This is the place where you want to turn your career up. You want to buy a house, you want to buy a second house, you want to have kids, have a family, and create like generational wealth. I don't know if anyone's quite there yet, but create a wonderful life for your family. This is the place to be. What I would hate to hear is that it's a KPI sweatshop, you know, a place where no voices are heard, where, you know, there's no opportunity for growth or innovation or ideas being centered. Like an idea where it's like, hey, everyone rolls up to Stu and what Stu says goes. That would make me incredibly uncomfortable. And also, I'm really go back to this fairness piece. Like, I'm probably not the nicest, fluffiest leader. I think people know that and they're okay with that. but I will always be incredibly fair, and I won't always do things right because that's the nature of this role, but I will always do things with the right intention. And if that slips, or if somebody said I wasn't a fair person, that would hurt me. I think that's something that I'd find really, really tough to deal with.
It sounds like you are also led a lot by the people that work for you. You know, who or what has been inspiring you internally to be a better leader?
I have attracted some amazing people to work for me. And if one of the things, and this is probably because I suffered with this earlier in my life and my career, unfilled potential is something that really doesn't sit well with me. I got very lucky that I've ended up where I have. I was fortunate enough. My parents blessed me with incredible intelligence. I was a straight A student until I wasn't, until I got distracted by all the things that a teenage boy gets distracted by. Didn't go to university, like literally went off a cliff, and it could have gone any type of way. And luckily, I got fired 10 times before I found recruitment in like 3 years. And I found recruitment and found an opportunity, and I've been able to go on this journey. Not everybody gets that second chance, right? And the people that work for me they're already highly proficient, but they have such limitless potential. I wouldn't be able to sleep very well at night knowing that I've failed their potential. So watching somebody like a Ross right now, who was our highest performer last year, will probably be our highest performer this year. This year, the year he has turned 30, he's buying a house in New Jersey, he's paying for a wedding, creating incredible investments for himself in the future, and seeing that his life go from really good to like, wow, by 30, he's going to have a house in one of the most expensive places in the world, paying for a beautiful wedding at a winery, taking care of his family. And so for me, like, that is so motivating, knowing that I'm helping with that, but also it's all off the back of his incredible potential, and he's hitting it, and he's exceeding some of the expectations that maybe we both had going in.
Great. And he sounds like almost the perfect candidate for my next question, which is very much around what would you say to somebody who is really ambitious, who just wants to rise in their career?
Surround yourself with people that are better than you. Be around amazing people. There's a quote that I can't bring to my head, but you're the sum of the 5 closest people around to you. Someone says it far more eloquently than I do, but that's the concept. So surround yourself with great people. That's the concept of our business, right? Is like, wow, I'm so inspired. Like, it's not one of those places where it's like, oh, well, they're okay, but they're a good lad, or they're fun around it. Like, that's not what we're trying to create. We want to be incredibly inspired, and every week you should be wowed by your colleague and something that they're doing. And then the other thing is take control of your own growth and destiny, right? I think as humans, it's really easy to seek growth and be like, oh, well, they didn't help me, or they didn't do this. Like, a lot of the amazing people that you will meet on your journey, they read, they listen to podcasts, they surround themselves with other recruiters or business professionals so that they can learn, and they want to know and be better. Like, that quest and thirst for knowledge never stop, right? And that's something I've always been super interested in. I think people found it strange that I used to hang out with before you were allowed to hang out with other recruiters from other businesses. I've always surrounded myself. They're like, how do you know all these people? It would be unfair to say that I ever have an original thought. Most of the stuff that I've done really well is taking 1% from the 100 great people that I've ran into and implementing that on my day-to-day. And that's what's created what I am. And so I always want to meet with people. I want to meet my competition. I want to meet people who are way better than me. I want to meet people who are new, who are doing things interestingly and with innovation, and taking that from them to make myself better. So surrounding yourself with great people, never stop learning, and always, always, always ask for more, do more, and set those high standards, and you'll be great.
Great. So considering how many people you've worked with across the recruitment industry, let's say you meet somebody who's got the right work ethic, the right attitude, the right talent, but they're in the wrong company or in the wrong market.
Yeah.
What's your advice?
I think the first thing is people have more control than maybe they give themselves credit for. Let's say you're in a dead market, right? You don't have to be in that market, right? If you go proactively to a leader and say, hey, that team's 700K ahead. This team are not doing 700K across 10 of us. I want to be on that team. I think people respect that. I think a lot of people are quite submissive early on in their career. They do as they're told. No, push, ask. Most people respect that. And, again, you maybe put a bit more pressure on yourself, but if the opportunity is there, go and get it, or find an organization that will. And I think also recruitment is this weird job that if you're good, the whole world is open, right? Like, if you look at, let's say you're a UK-based recruiter, right? everyone in the US wants to hire you, especially the British companies. They want to hire UK-based recruiters. Australia, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai. You can go wherever the heck you want in the world. You don't have to go to college. Like, you work in this industry for 3 years. You can be 25, grab a suitcase and go. Do it. Like, you have absolutely the opportunity to do it. Don't wait for the opportunity to come to you. And like, it's just so amazing. But I think if you're stuck in one of those situations, wrong company, wrong market, absolutely grab it by the seat of the pants and get the heck out.
Amazing. And have you seen that happen, personally, somebody that's been in low fee, low margin market, and then something's changed and they've just flown?
I was that. That was me when I was in the UK in 2014, 13. I tell everyone, it's nuts that I'm here. And if you met anyone that worked with me from 2012 to 2014, I met with someone last year and he's like, dude, what happened? Right. And I moved to the US as an okay recruiter. And look, someone who I eventually didn't love working with, but saw something in me. And he's like, hey, go out to the US. What you're doing I was doing the German market. I was really struggling. And they should have fired me, right? I didn't do a deal for 7 months. And they said, all right, we believe in you. We think you're in the wrong market. And I was actively seeking a move to the US for a love interest who's now not my wife. So I was going to make it happen myself anyway, going back to our previous question. But I wanted to move to the US. I didn't quite realize how much the upside was here, but it is just a case of there is so much opportunity, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. I think a lot of people are like, hey, well, I'll just go do the US. There is so much opportunity in higher markets, in different geographies outside of the US. But I think the biggest thing is go where you're respected, right? I look at the UK and how recruiters are viewed in IT temp or day rate contractors or whatever. And it's you're seen as a bit of a joke and no one wants to talk to you. No one wants to meet you. If you're in, either a high value market, let's say, okay, well, I only work at this exec level, or I'm doing quants, or I only work in the US, or I only work in Dubai or Australia, and people think that you're adding value to them, that's where the money and the opportunity comes from. It doesn't have to necessarily be a market. You have to go to an industry or a corner of the world where you're respected and people see you level to level, or even want to be you and are desperate to meet you, versus hey, I can't get anyone on the phone. That's when you know you have a problem.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really inspiring because, I've definitely come across a number of people and they know that they do have the right talent, but they're just going, why is this not happening for me? And so you're a really good example of, it may not have happened back then, but actually having that confidence, the perseverance, surrounding yourselves with the right people.
Agree. And look, I'm super grateful to the people that saw that, because I think early on, it was a little bit fake it till you make it in terms of how I put myself out there. And I kind of signed a social contract with the world that I set up this picture of success, even if it wasn't as successful as maybe I'd pictured. So I kind of had to make it work. And I'd kind of burnt a few bridges in other industries where I was like, all right, well, this is kind of my last roll of the dice from a career perspective. And to say that 22, 23 is kind of scary and probably a bit naive. I mean, look, there's days I've tried to quit. I've called my mum in tears as a grown man. At 22, I tried to come back from London and go back to Northampton. And she's like, what are you coming back for? And then after a breakup of previous love interest that we discussed in 2015, I had my full Hollywood moment where I went to JFK, packed my stuff. I went to JFK, went to go through customs, and I was like, I just sat there. And I was like, and I literally sat in the airport and just watched my flight go by and got back on the train and went back to New York. I didn't talk to anyone. I just sat there. And it is if there was a movie moment of hit the bottom and then look, has it been plain sailing since then? No. But that's when my life got way better. I was like, what am I going home to? What am I going back for? And, I think everyone externally sees this journey and everything is easy and everything is awesome. But I've gone through some challenges. The good things come at the other end of hard times, and I've had a few, but that moment for me was all right, this is it, and got to go all in here because there's not much to go back to. And probably my ego didn't let me go home either, and since then everything has been that was pretty much 10 years ago to now. If I went through Facebook or Instagram or whatever, it'd probably be around this time 10 years ago. And since then my life has just kicked on, and I've done some really fun, awesome things.
Love that. Right, finish this sentence. If you join us, you will
get rich, have fun, be inspired.
How do you help people grow at Hampton North?
This is something I'm trying to get better at. I'm good at making people as good as me. But that's also, I have now trying to get better about, I really want everyone to be better than me. Like that's how my company really thrives, and that's how I have a wonderful life. And I think what I've invested in is I'm a great, I kind of call it the truck and the trailer, right? I'm a good truck to pull people with me. And that's fine to a degree, but I can't do that to everyone. I can't do that for everyone. So now I have to look at my shortcomings as a leader. And now it's about bringing in people who can inspire and really kind of, I think we have like if we look at it as a garden right now, we have some great trees, we have some great, grass out there. I've hired the person that can bring, that can water and really watch these people grow and nourish the garden and help them flourish. And so really where we're going to maximize potential is by me bringing in great leaders. And that's something that, we've just done with Greg, who is a wonderful vice president, is a better leader than me. I've worked with him before. I've seen it in action. Watching him, he's been in the business for 48 hours, and watching the team react to his style of management, where I think things in very binary, which is ones and zeros, and I'm not great at getting into the details of things, but I am great at giving them opportunity and allowing every opportunity they get to maximize potential. But watching somebody who can fill in the gaps and kind of help people really maximize their potential, and that's really what the next chapter of this journey is, if we call this a 2.0, with the next layer of leadership, bringing in the right leaders so that I can go out and attract the right people, the right message, and the right types of clients that want to work with our business. If I'm doing that while everyone's maximizing their potential, there's no saying where this thing can go.
Mm-hmm. And when you say the right people, what kind of raw traits are you looking for outside of someone's billing history, for example?
So there's a few things. I think because we're a remote first business, everything comes from integrity. And the way I look at integrity and character is, what are you doing when no one's looking? Because the truth is 95% of the time in a remote business, no one's looking, right? So if I don't trust someone 100%, and I don't trust that that's what they're going to be, they're not in, right? Done. The other traits are really that kind of ruthless level of self-confidence. And I'm going to continue to build people up. But if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to get walked over in this industry, because there is someone who does, and they're going to go out and win. And if you don't think that there's value in our service and what we're doing, it's just not going to play out here. I think the self-awareness thing is so important for me, of like, okay, what am I great at? Where are my shortcomings? What are you doing about that development? That's something that I find is really, really important. And then, as we get into, we're a human-focused business. If you want to sit behind a keyboard, if you don't want to put yourself out there, if you don't want to be public on LinkedIn and in person, I do truly think that as the noise is only going to get louder in technology, and authenticity is going to destroy everything. So if someone doesn't want to get out and see people and meet people and understand and inspire and enjoy time with people, like I was talking to somebody yesterday, likability will get you 90% of the way in your career. You don't actually have to be good at anything. You just have to be liked and get people to do what maybe they don't want to do for you. And like, it doesn't really matter what your education is, what you're bringing, what you're selling, what you're doing. If you can just be the popular kid, that's fine. You'll probably do all right. Like, people will open doors for you and make things happen. If you're abrasive, if you're a bit of an arse, like, yeah, maybe someone will do something for you once. But if someone likes you and wants to spend time with you and talk to you, this job gets really, really easy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, authenticity is something that it comes to some people very naturally, which is good. When I think about the people that are in your business, how do they know that they are actually growing rather than just getting better at the same thing?
I think because we're such a startup, right? And if people don't take accountability for things, nothing happens, right? I am not Superman. And if people come to me, people stop coming to me with the same problems. People know that I don't like to answer the same question twice. And that's something that I think people are great at with me, is like, hey, like, I don't care about failure and I don't care about issues, but I won't have the same conversation twice. And so people knowing that they're learning from every mistake that they make is great. Look, watching their they know that their bank balances are going up. I can see that by some of the jewelry and clothes and housing. And so watching people upgrade their lives is amazing. But even just like the way they carry themselves, like watching them be able to go into a meeting with, hey, I just got a meeting with the CISO of the biggest bank in the world. Stu, I don't need you there. I used to need you there. And hey, don't worry, I'm going to take care of this. Like, hey, I've ran this. Like, don't worry about it. So I think they know they're growing because the hand slowly slips away, right? They don't need me to hold the hand anymore, or they come to me with, hey, I just fixed this, versus, hey, Stu, what do I do here?
Yeah, great. Are there any kind of, I guess, tactical things that you make sure happens in the day-to-day to allow somebody to really be able to own and learn from those mistakes?
We're very deliberate about managing up and managing publicly, and almost that kind of social contract of like, okay, we're going to get together on Monday. What are you going to struggle with this week? Like, what's the biggest challenge? What is the thing giving you anxiety this week? And we talk about that as a collective. Like, I've got a call with this client tomorrow. They're pretty pissed at me. This is how I'm addressing this. This is the debt. Like, I don't have a shortlist. I'm really struggling on this search. Okay, what should you do? Ross, what would you do? They're Ruby, Vas, what would you do here? Okay, well, I'd collate a bunch of data so that they know that I've been doing this. And this is the feedback and these are the themes. So I think like publicly holding yourself accountable to the shit stuff, like, I don't really care if you're going to send 5 CVs. Like, you should be sending 5 CVs. I actually don't need to know that. What I need to know is, what are you doing to address the problems that you have on your desk this week? What's giving you anxiety? What's getting in your way? Okay, can we crowdsource that problem? What did you learn from the experience? Because I also think like some of the biggest issues that people in our industry have are problems that they've created in their head of like, okay, this client wants to talk at 5. I'm in trouble. Why? Like, okay, we've got to go with a shortlist of only 2 candidates. Well, they love them, and they're only expecting 2 candidates. I look at a lot of people, and I think this is a real kind of millennial Gen Z trait, which is we create these situations in our head that are mostly worst case scenario, trying to train a way of thinking of, okay, what's best possible outcome? And I think if we can get in that line of thinking and versus falling into the immediate negativity, which could be worse, but 85% of the time it isn't. But how much headspace are you losing by stressing about the call at 5? So between 10 and 5, you're pissed off or angry or worried. So you just lost 7 hours. You lost 20% of your week thinking about something that doesn't or isn't going to happen.
I think it's good that you are fostering that kind of mentality. If I think back to traditional recruitment businesses that were very KPI heavy, that's where it becomes quite binary. Either you're good or you're not. And that's where that anxiety comes in. Well, I know that I'm not. Yeah. Rather than thinking about, well, what have I done in the middle that actually is where the value is going to be, especially to my candidates and my clients.
And I think something that is really important to me is the only people that are allowed in the room in our company are great. Like, they're there for a reason, right? Even when people go through periods of tough times, going through, challenging months and weeks, you have to remember why you're here. And you're here because you're great. You might not be great today. You might be going through a little bit, and some of that can be personal. Some of that can be something in the background that's causing that, and they get in a bit of a rut and they start to overthink. You are only here because you're great. And anyone that works in this business, like, there are no hangers on. Like, I use and it's really bro-y, but I use the 300 as the metaphor for our company. You can be great, but if you can't carry your shield the same way as everyone else, you are not here, because that is cancerous to the entire organization that you are not great. So I only have expectations of greatness, and I carry that across the entire, like, everything that we do and every conversation that we have is because we are great. And if you don't believe in that, and the second that stops wavering, either we have to have a very serious conversation about it, because self-confidence is a real thing. But if you realize that the only reason that clients work with us, and like some of the best clients on the planet that I can't even begin to think 15 years ago, like, that they would work with me and be desperate to work with me and be asking if we can help them out, like, it's because we're great and no other reason. It's not because I got 5 pints with them at the golf course. It's not because my cousin is head of HR. Clients trust us to execute for them, and that's because we're great.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about the wavering self-confidence, how have you seen that managed, because you are a remote organisation, because you can't physically see somebody and their body language every day?
We do a lot of virtual conversations. I speak to most people every day. One of the things funny story, I tried to be a professional poker player, and I did okay for about a year, and then I didn't. And it's okay. I was 18. But what it taught me is everything I need to know about why people do what they do and the psychology of behavior and why they send the email and why they answered the question the way they did. And watching people's behavior patterns is very similar in recruitment as it is to poker, right? Like if people are covering up for something, you can tell. And so you stop things at the source. And sometimes it's as simple as, hey, I can tell you didn't go to the gym this morning because you're very different. You're very positive. Like you work out every day and I can tell you didn't go today. Or, hey, you haven't been outside today. I can tell by the way that you're communicating. Shut your laptop. We'll have this conversation in 30 minutes. Go outside, get a coffee, come back. So being able to pick up on those patterns of behaviors, and that can only come from communication and getting to know your team. But that's so important. We also get together a decent amount, right? Like I'm with Greg and Ross and our new hire. I will be out in LA with Ruby in a couple of weeks. I was with Amy at a conference. And some of it is after a couple of drinks. It's like, hey, I know that you're going through that in your head. And it's like, just so you know, everyone knows you're great. Everyone has your back. Like everyone wants you to do this. The pressure is coming from you, not from me. I have expectations of greatness and expectations of performance, but the short-term pressure of, hey, I need to do this and this and this, that comes from within. I always tell people, and people fall in love with outcomes in recruitment because it's really cool when you do a deal. It's really cool when a client signs with you. I'm obsessive over falling in love with the process, not the outcome. And if you fall in love with the process and you continue to do, like it's the law of averages, is that if you're doing the right things enough times to the right people, everything is going to play out the way it's supposed to. There is no such thing as luck. And it's interesting that the people who normally have a bit of luck early in their career in recruitment are no longer in the game in 12 months. It's the people that suffer and struggle and stick with it in their first 6 or 12 months. I imagine that the founders that you sit down with today were probably all shit in their first 6 months, myself included. But they persevered and they learned to do the right things, and they probably had a good coach who trusted them to come back with the outcomes. And that is something that like a deal does not get me excited. Watching somebody do the right things over and over and over again and get better at them, that's my drug. That's where I get really high. Is like, wow, you are so much better than this you were 6 months ago. If someone comes and tells me they do a deal, that's not going to change our business. I don't live and die by deal. And that's why I think it creates a culture of being able to deliver bad news too, because it's 35 grand to us, right? Like we're a growing business. It's not going to make or break anything. It's not going to make or break anybody's career. What I want to say is, hey, we just upgraded this client from a 1 hire to a 10 hire. Heck yeah. Hey, these guys want to fly us in for this event. Hey, I've just got a meeting with this person who I've been trying to get at for 12 months and we finally got it. Talk to me. One deal, nothing. Being able to get better in these situations and continuing to have these conversations, heck yeah, we're all in on that.
And I love this because it is so different from, I guess, what we had experienced within a typical staffing agency. One of the things that I really value about the way in which you run the business is the fact that you have such an open way of being a leader. And it is sometimes having those conversations that you wouldn't necessarily have had you been in a very political staffing agency.
Yeah, and I've worked for those people, right? I've worked for the people whose job is to portray themselves as Superman. And everybody like, wow, they're coming to the office. Oh my God, have you seen their watch? Whoa, like they're so cool. Look at their custom suit. Like, look at their car. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I'm just a lad from Northampton. Like, I'm just a guy, right? There is actually nothing innately special about who I am. I like to play golf. I love hanging out with my kid. I'm quite good at what I do. And I love doing it. But I'm just a guy, right? And I'm just one of the guys. I hold myself to a higher standard in terms of how I conduct myself in business, whatever. But like, give me a shit bar and a bucket of beers, I'm with the boys, like, and I'm with other people, and I'm not trying to separate myself. And I want people to know that I'm not perfect at everything, and I'm trying my best. I look at some of the appointments I've made and some of the decisions I've made, and self-awareness is some of the things I haven't done great, and I want the team to know why I did it, but also what I learned from it, but also like what I'm doing to become a better leader. And some of that is hiring, and some of that is bringing in external experts to help me develop, because I'm not, by no means even close to the finished article. And I think the team wouldn't work for me if they thought that I thought that, because they don't. How do they grow if I don't? It doesn't make sense, right? And like I'm 35, right? I started this business as a 32-year-old with 10 years experience. By relative expectations, I'm actually a child, right? I'm still 25, 30% way through my working career if I go the distance. So I'm still a child, right? So I've got so much learning and growing and development to do, and I want that. But I also, it's bullshit for me to think of my team of like, wow, I have an answer for everything. I've got everything figured out. And so I'm just very open and honest about what I'm trying to get better at, what I'm not trying to get better at, but I'm hiring in because someone else will do it better. And I think that they know that they can always be honest with me if I'm always honest with them. If I create this facade that everything is perfect or, you know, and then I make decisions that are contrary to that, then we have a real problem, right? And I don't want to be that boss that people can't trust or don't know what they're up to or whatever. I want everything to be front and center from a decision-making perspective, so they know when they come with any problem, any question, they probably already know the answer. I think there is nothing worse than not knowing how somebody is going to react to something. That's, again, we go back to anxiety. I don't know what Stu's going to say about this day off, or I don't know what Stu's going to say about this dropout. Everyone knows what I'm going to say, but they ask anyway.
Yeah, and it's because they respect you, but they're not afraid of you, which is good. So, Stu, the security industry.
Yep.
Talk to me about the kind of clients that you work with. What kind of businesses are they? But also, why did they choose you?
Yeah, so our client base is actually quite wide from a geographic and from an industry standpoint. One of the things that is so important to us, it's a business that gives a shit about security, right? Like, that's the most important thing to me. If security is a checkbox exercise and you don't want to invest in great people or difference makers, you just want to plug people in a seat, we're actually not the right partner for you, right? And we're okay with that. We've talked to businesses where it's like, hey, we want to hire from these 5 companies. We want to, and it's like, well, so that we can get this compliance exercise done and we don't want to pay that much and, you know, trying to squeeze us on a deal. I'm like, that sounds incredibly boring. And that's not what we want to do. We want to hire like people that 6 months, 12 months down the line, they're like, oh, we hired Jimmy or Hannah or, you know, Pradeep, and they've come in and they've absolutely changed our program, right? So difference makers. So I think where we partner with clients is, you know, we want to come in and we don't just want to be given a job description. We want to be given a problem, right? Some of our hires come from problems that weren't even official headcount. It's like, you know, you can hire someone for that, right? These guys are doing this and you should hire from this company. And I know 5 guys, I'll get them over to you tomorrow, right? Done. So we're creating headcount by fixing problems for them that maybe they'd have paid software for or bought services in. And that's the way that we want to be seen as. And if we look at like one of our key partners, they see us as important as their partnership with McKinsey and CrowdStrike and Okta, and they look at like, we put you up there. Like, if we don't have you, none of this works. And that's what we want to be seen as. And look, people pick or don't pick us because we are quite brutal with our level of qualification. We're brutal with the type of opportunity that we'll take on. You know, we give them live feedback. I've had some of the biggest banks in the world saying, hey, like, we're not going to work with you because you are too honest about our interview process. You're too honest about our compensation. People should be lining up to work for us. And I'll tell them, hey, they're not, right? Like, these people don't want to work for you because your pay is crap. Because, like, what's the upside, right? There has to be an upside. Sometimes it's not money. Sometimes it's progression. Sometimes it's title. Some of it is flexibility. Some of it is benefits. But, like, if you're just going to say, hey, here's a job, go fill it, like, it doesn't work for us. I need something to sell. And I think, like, where I've made a name in my career is I've worked with clients before they get cool. I'll give a prime example of I did some of the foundational hiring with OpenAI before anyone had heard of ChatGPT. And that's really cool to say now, but imagine selling this thing 4 years ago where no one had heard of them. And I think I'm a very good storyteller. And so all I need is like, hey, what's the narrative here? Like, what are we putting together? Because we have the community, we have the ear of the community, and we're working with a client right now. And you know, we were talking about like why they were going to hire for us, and there was some pushback from internal TA, and they've got a list of 87 people they hired for the role, and 6 people got back to them, and I was like, cool, who's your top target? And so they pointed it, and literally live on the call, I pulled my cell phone out, I was like, here's his number. I text him, he texts me back live. I was like, hey mate, you have a few, text me back live. I was like, cool, he'll be in your inbox tomorrow. So we have that access immediately. One that everyone has access, right? Everyone has LinkedIn Recruiter, everyone has email, everyone has all the sourcing tools, whatever. When we call, people answer. And that's the most important thing, is like everyone can reach someone. We can make people listen.
Yeah. I was going to, you know, I always love knowing something that a client has sort of said to you that stuck with you. But actually just then you gave me 2 really good examples. One of them being one of our most valued partners, you know, with the likes of a McKinsey. Yeah. And equally also somebody had said, we don't want to work with you because you're too honest. Yep. I think that's brilliant.
For sure. And we don't want to work with everybody. And I think as we as we grow the right way, we are going to opt a lot more clients out, right? We don't want to work with everybody, because we need people, places to take from, but also we work in partnerships. And the second, I've had times where I will not have anyone on my team's time wasted. I will not have anyone treated as a second-class citizen. And the second people are not meeting us at the eye, we're out. Like and I've had to have some brutal conversations with how people have treated my team, and they won't treat me like that because I'm the CEO and I'm quite aggressive looking and like I don't have it. But the second it becomes a subservient relationship, or chuck this in a portal, or hey, we'll get back to you, done. Like clients are out. So it's exciting to be able to select, and that's the one thing. Like we're not a 500-person business and every deal is great. We want to be doing the right deals because those deals create the legacy of the future of the business. Is hey, we worked with these folks and we created a legacy there. They needed us, and we rebuilt the entire program. And look at them now. And again, like we have some videos on our website. Like there's live examples of like, wow, like Stu picked me up from the airport, drove me to the interview, prepped on the way. I came in, I hit the ground running and changed their entire program. And, I have CEOs of public companies that know my kid's name now because of the impact that we've had on their program.
Yeah, I love that. You talked there as well about the way in which you wouldn't work with particular clients.
Yeah.
When you think about some of your best partnership relationships, why are they the best?
So I think there's huge amounts of information in the qualification process, right? Like we do and we don't want to be, like we want to be an extension of their business, but we also don't want to sound the same, right? Like there's a reason they've brought us in. And I think knowing that, I think reputationally, it's a good look for any company that brings us in, because they're like, okay, they take security seriously because they've hired Stu and his team to come in. So they're going to spend the money and bring in the pros. So it's a good look. So we do a lot of levels of qualification up front. We look at why. Like we're on a couple of searches right now. We rebuilt this company's leadership team, but we're dealing with some of the hangover of the previous leadership team. And so now hiring the managers and ICs around it, we're proactively having to get ahead of that. And I told them like, hey, you have a reputation problem. And so we're able to get ahead of that. So I think, like, again, going back to the radical candor point, we want to know where the bodies are when we go in, and we don't want to be like, oh yeah, it's a great role, 175 remote, 20% bonus, whatever. Great. So why haven't you filled it, right? What's the problem? So we get to the root of the problem so that we can get ahead of that. And then it's, we're incredibly embedded. Slack is where we live. We're in a Slack channel with pretty much every one of our clients. We have, depending on the velocity and the volume of the hires, we'll have at least a once a week standing call with every client where we come delivered with a progress report and to talk about active candidates. If you don't have that accountability slips. It's so easy to say, hey, no resumes this week, I'm hiding or whatever, but you don't want to show up to class without your homework, right? So if you go to that call and you haven't done anything, or there's actions that haven't happened, so that layers an accountability on us and on them. Like, hey, those 5 candidates that you said you were going to push to a second interview, why is it now Tuesday and they're not done? Creates accountability on both sides. And then I think just that level set of like doing what you say you're going to do. It's so easy to hide behind emails and portals. And look, maybe you can get a few deals done. But where we look at the places we'll do 10, 15, 25, 50 hires is that layer of accountability, understanding the business, understanding why they're not able to do it themselves, because not everyone can, some businesses can, and being able to sell against the challenge versus going in completely blind and then going, yeah, we interviewed everyone in New York City over the last 12 months, so there's no one here. Great. Okay, well, we know that a lot of people are relocating right now, so we're going to go and get those guys. If we can get all that information up front, then we crush.
I think, obviously, starting the relationship with a client, specifically focusing on what is the challenge that we can help you find a solution to is great. Yeah. But why do they keep coming back to you? Where do you think the value is that you're giving them that means that they want to continue that repeat business?
I think some of it is, we talked about likability earlier. I think people like working with us, right? Like Ross said it the other day. We got dinner with a client of ours, and he's like, I reckon they just give you business so that they get to get lunch with you at all of these conferences, right? And that's part of it. But I also think we execute, we're very honest, we own and eat mistakes, and people always know where they stand with us. We're not trying to hide, we're very public, we build everything publicly. We want results that everyone can see. And so I think people trust us and like us. They're the 2 most important things in the world. If people trust you and they like you, everyone's going to make mistakes. And I actually look at some of our best relationships, and there's always a speed bump. And that's normally where most recruiters are like, all right, well, we had a dropout, or this candidate didn't take the offer. And I love those moments. In the same way that if you look at brands that you probably are committed to, your bank, your insurance company, the ones you stick with are the ones that fix problems, because no relationship is ever perfect. But knowing that you've got someone you can call, they'll jump on a phone, jump on a flight right away to fix something, versus, hey, when the going gets tough, and every relationship, working, professional, personal, it always has a challenge point. And knowing that you're going to work through that together, I think that's why people come back. Every relationship has gotten better after an issue, where other businesses would have just taken the exit and gone and found a new client.
Yeah, exactly. The security industry is continually changing.
Yep.
You know, we've talked about AI. What are the types of candidates that you get really excited about placing?
Personally, leadership, because these people have become friends to me. Like, if I look at most of my social life, it's kind of conference and city travel adjacent, and some of my best friends are CEOs, CISOs, VPs, and I was coffee with one this morning. This guy helped him relocate to New York. My buddy was a realtor, got him his place. Wife helped hook up an internship in New York City. So these are my friends that I'm also able to make their life better. Watching some of the really exciting industry trends right now, I'm super excited about some of the AI offensive security, and working with businesses that are doing some really exciting things. Like, one of our biggest clients is they're in the AI warfare space. So it's really fascinating. It's a bit like Stark Industries. It's so cool. But being able to place the people that keep that stuff safe is so fascinating to me. So watching businesses that are procuring things that are entirely novel and new fascinates me.
We've talked sort of before about, you know, people wanting to join Hampton North and why they want to stay with you. How do you foster the right behaviours within the team so that candidates want to keep coming back to them?
It's the infinite game with Simon Sinek of like, okay, if you ran into this person in the hallway in 5 years, what are they like? How's that? Is that going to be weird? Is that going to be awkward? What if they're in a hiring seat? What if they need to move again? So I think if you do everything with the intention that in 5 years that person's going to sit next to you, I don't have to manage anything else. That's their own reputation. That's their own legacy that they're creating. I think particularly last year, where I was kind of overwhelmed, I got blown up on LinkedIn. I think for a couple of months I just lost it, and I couldn't check my inbox. And I've hired someone now to help me out there, and I had to go back to a few of those people eventually, and the anxiety was crushing me. And I was like, hey, like, just so you know, like, I got overwhelmed, but like, and it was when my father was passing. But like, again, there's no excuse to never get back to anybody, at least with bad news, or, hey, I'm not the right person, I can't help. And I fell into a trap, and I look back and I'm embarrassed, right? I'm embarrassed. And I have to eat that head on, because otherwise it's like, hey, I saw your LinkedIn message 12 months ago. I got to reach out to you now for something. And it's hard, right? It's hard to manage these things, and I've had to find somebody to help me with that. Otherwise, I would basically be like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Bruce Almighty, where he's replying to emails. Like, that would be my life. And so it's very, very challenging. But I think that if you create the concept of, hey, I'm going to run into you in 5 years, I'm going to need you for something again, you treat someone like shit. Like, it's actually really hard to do that. Whereas even if you've delivered the bad news in a humane way, or, hey, I can't help, or, hey, this isn't the one for you. Look, do people flip out every now and then? And it's, by the way, it's always men. Like, their egos are so soft. But, hey, like, what do you know anyway? And it's like, okay, like, fine. But most people are like, hey, like, we've got a full short list. I'll let you know if anything changes. Or, hey, there's no flexibility on location. Or, hey, I don't think this is the right job for you. You don't hit this. Some people get precious about it. Most people are like, okay, I appreciate the response. Right? And I think that's the most important thing, is like saying no and delivering it the right way, so that people trust our reputation. And look, do I think every person in the industry is a huge fan of Hampton North? No. But we have fans. We have people that want our business to do well. Like, there's a huge, like, funny moment last year at a conference, and Ross and I had been working together for maybe 6 months. And a guy in an Uber just, like, drunk shouts, Hampton North. And it was just like such a proud moment for me. I was like, wow, like, that's so cool. But, you know, we have a following. We have people who want us to do well. And if we don't foster, like, again, if we go back to what we first spoke about, which is we're building this for the industry don't like us, what the heck are we building, and why?
Absolutely. You've made some amazing hires recently.
Yes.
I know this is a big week for you. Thinking about, the job description that you would be putting out to potential people to come into Hampton North,
Yeah.
what is something you wish that you could write on that job description that you really would like to get across to people?
This is a really funny moment when there were three of us, me, Ruby, and Spencer, 16, 17 months ago. So it's probably 6 months in. It's so funny to think about because it's not right, but Ruby wrote no nice people, which is so funny because Ruby's probably the nicest person in that company, by the way, as well. And I don't think that's what we mean. But what we mean is we need people to be completely honest and highly resilient. Like 99% of this job is being rejected or rejecting, right? You probably get good news once a day, maybe. And if you say that out loud, it's shit, right? How depressing is that to think about? But that good email could buy you a Porsche. That good email can put your kid through university. So you have to take the emotion out of that and be ready for that and be ready for tough conversations and be ready for shit news. And so I think if we really look at it, it's the resilience and the honest piece and not trying to hide behind smiles when things are tough, right? And I look at I prefer kind over nice. And I think we lead with kindness and I will do everything the right way, but I may not deliver it in the nicest package. And that's something that I'm trying to get better as a leader. But that resilience and toughness piece is at the core of everything. And if you have that, you can get through anything. If you listen and learn and are coachable and you want to do well. But the way we also look at it, there's a bunch of people in our industry that are doing this because they don't know what else to do, right? Kind of floating by life. They probably didn't get the degree out of college they wanted, or they met a mate in a bar who had quite a nice watch and they got in recruitment, right? They don't really want to do it. I think at the core, we call it the lifer. You're not here so that you can then go and get a TA job at Netflix. You're here because you love the game. And I love the game. And everyone in our business loves the game. If you love the game, this is a great place. If you're here because you want to go to lunch club or Ibiza, and don't get me wrong, we have some fun stuff. Like we had a great dinner last night. But if you're doing it for the optics and because you don't have anything else to do, or you like a couple of lads in the office, not for us. If you want to create a legacy but you can go through the shit to do it, this is the place to be.
Mm-hmm. Am I right in thinking that you offer a profit share model?
Yes.
What was the reasoning behind wanting to build that in? And I guess what message is that sending to your team?
So there's a couple of things. They're building something for me, right? Like every time they come to work, they're making good money and that's great. But at some point, you need people on the bus with you. Otherwise, everything they're going to do is going to be short-term minded and really for themselves. People, especially salespeople, their actions are going to be a result of what you incentivize them by. If you incentivize short-term behaviors and activities, you're going to get short-term results. If you incentivize long-term actions that are healthier for the business and help everybody, but they're incentivized on that, that's great. The second point is, I'm just a guy from Northampton, right? I have made more money in my career already than I ever thought I was going to make. I don't want to live on the beach in Santa Monica. I don't need a private jet. I don't want to drive a Ferrari. I have a very comfortable life that I'm happy with. Like, I have some personal financial goals that I would like to hit, and I think I'll hit them. But I don't need to squeeze every cent out of this business. And, if I have the right people along the way, like I talked about this last night, there's two things that I want to make out of this business. And the first one, the most important one, is memories. Sometimes in a remote culture, that's harder to do. Like I look at some of the funny stories from the offices that I've been over the years, and I miss that. But I already look at some of the trips we've been on together, the conferences, and I already have great memories here. And I think as the business grows, you create a kind of an archive of some of the stories in the early years and the trips and the meetings and the drinks and all that stuff. And so making memories is as important to me as making the money. And so I think that's so important. And if you've got everyone on that journey with you, like I get embarrassed when I look and it's like, hey, we're going to happy hour, but you can't afford it. Like, and there's a lot of that in the UK and then the kind of grad models and stuff. And it's like, hey, can't go to happy hour unless the company pay. Or the only reason I'm hanging out with the guys at work is because I get 2 free beers at the end of the week. It's like, That shit. I want everyone to get rich, and I want us all to get rich together. I don't talk, like, I don't hide behind talking about money. I want it to be comfortable to talk about, but it's only comfortable if everyone's doing well, right? It's weird if so-and-so's on 400 grand and someone's on 35K. And it's like, I get that this is a results industry, but I want all of us to create great lives for our families. Like, I don't want people, it's almost like, financial pressure is a real thing to everyone, especially the younger generation. And I look at why marriages don't work out and why people are stressed. And there's enough to be stressed about in this world. If we can take care of the money piece by them building something for me, why not have them build it for them?
Okay, so let's talk numbers. What's the, I guess, difference in somebody's earning potential when they are working smarter with these higher value clients? Better margins, for example. What is that difference?
So if I told you that our average salary bill, our average is over $200,000, which I'm sure the Recruiter Hub team hate, the finance guys. Our average take home is over $200,000. Over half of our business makes over 200 grand. And that's not me. But over half our business make over 200 grand. And that's performance based. That's not because I pay people well, but that's because of their results and our commission structure. So that's our average salary. So if you look at most places, probably 80K in the US, probably lower in the UK, maybe 50, 40. So that's the average take home for somebody who works here. And look, some of that is because they're doing tremendously well. And this is creating profit, by the way. I'm not doing this. We're not a not-for-profit, right? Like we're still taking money that we're reinvesting in growth, and I'm investing some of it myself too. But that's what it looks like. Some people will make 300. Some people will probably make 4 as they start to cook on gas. So that's what it looks like. You know, in our first year, our average biller, in our first year, we were averaging 50K ahead. It slipped a little lower last year, but our expectation is that our average run rate will be 50K ahead. That's what this business is set up for. And I don't know many people that do that. And it's hard to scale, and we're going to run into challenges along the way, right? If I can get a 25-person business doing 50K ahead, maybe I do get that Ferrari, like we'll see. I don't want one, but that's a really, really healthy business. But I truly believe we can do that. I don't want to, if I look at some businesses, they're okay with, 20K ahead. That doesn't excite me. I don't really, if we keep our standards incredibly high, people will regress to the lowest common denominator. And if I bring 100, 150K billers into the business and maybe I make 20, 30 grand on them, it will drag down my highest performers. So I want people to be dragged up. I want people that were maybe billing. And some people have come to this business that weren't incredible billers before, but they have upside, they have potential. And maybe they were a 200K biller. I'm like, cool, we'll get you to 6. Like, because you have it, you're just around, going back to who you surround with. There's some great people in some really shitty businesses that think that 300K is amazing because that's what they know, right? But all of a sudden, the only reason I became $1 million biller myself was because I sat opposite a guy who was $1 million biller, and I was like, you're good, but like, there's nothing missing here. Like, I don't not have that, but it's an expectation that, like, I worked at a business where 500K was great. So I did 550, right? And I'm like, whoa, I'm the hero. Whereas I'm sat opposite a guy doing 1.4. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I want to do 1.6. And I think that's where it's like, some of it you just do because it becomes the expectation versus like you go into a business where 200K is great. It's like, cool, I'm going to be the top biller and do 240. Like 240 will get you fired.
Yeah, exactly. And as you continue to grow then, how do you think you can continue to foster that mindset shift in people coming into your business?
You create a culture, and this is where it gets a little like, I can't create that. The team create that, right? And if you create a mob mentality, makes it sound bad, but if you create that, hey, you are not welcome here unless, and you have people ruthlessly defend what you're trying to create, I can't be the barrier or the blocker for everything and everyone. It has to be a layer of expectation that your key players and the key hires that I'm making now protect every single day. And if they wear that of like, hey, if you don't do this, you are not allowed in here. And if you do this, your life and the opportunity is going to be amazing. So that's what you create. You create a team of self-policing in the same way that, like, as a coach, I can only do so much to a sports team. But the second you cross that line, but you'll have captains and you'll have leaders on that field that are like, hey, 80% is not enough. You run till you're sick. Like, same mentality here. And people will have bad days in the same way that sports players have bad games. When it comes to sports, is like, I know that people use this parallel a lot. People don't mind seeing their team lose. People hate when they see their team not try. And I feel the same way. I don't mind failure the right way, but I cannot stand laziness, missed potential, and acting in a way that doesn't fit our ethos and DNA at Hampton North.
Yeah, of course. Going back to the story that you were kind of telling me about you and having those moments with the £1.4 million biller, it might be some other people that you've hired. What do you think those trigger moments were for them to snap out and say, I can be much better than this?
We do this thing where we kind of put these great billers on a pedestal in recruitment. And there is, they think they have this magic phone voice or what, like a super email shortcut. When you see what great people do in action, you realize that it's consistency of action and input. And there's no secret sauce. There's no shortcut. In the same way, like I look at some of this AI stuff and how they're trying to make life a million times easier for recruiters. If everyone's doing the same thing, it's actually going to different topic. But anyway, there is nothing amazing about amazing people. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but once you see something, most things are in reality underwhelming, but you see it and you're like, I can do that. That's cool. Like, that's it. That's all I have to do is just do that. And I just do it a bit more. And it is the biggest thing that gets everyone in everyone's way is this limiting belief in their own mindset, right? If you put someone in and put them around $5 million billers, if they missed, they would do 3 million, right? If they were shit. So, and I know a guy in his first week in recruitment, they basically said, hey, every client that you talk to are going to give you a job. And they were fucking with him, right? But like every client, they're going to give him a job, and every CV you send is going to get an interview. So the first time he's on the phone, he's like, what do you mean you don't work with agencies? Like, I don't understand. Like, why? And so his conversion rates, and then like when they were rejecting his candidates, he's like, no, like you're going to talk to this person. They would go and get the job, because that's the mindset that he was built in. And they were messing with him, and all of a sudden they like completely rewrote their training program where that was the expectation, because this one 22-year-old who is like now their top biller in 2 months, what the heck just happened? Everything is around the mindset, right? And everything is like how you look at those situations. None of these great billers I know like do anything amazing. It's the way they carry themselves. It's what they believe in and how they position that and how often they do that makes them great. There's no secret sauce. And I think people are underwhelmed when they like, our highest performer, Ross, he knows it. He's like, I just do my job. Like, he's just like, I do what I say I'm going to do and I just get it done, right? And he's like, he says it. He's like, I just wreck. And that's it. Like, he knows there's nothing amazing, but if you show up every day and you're consistently good every day and you do what you say you're going to do, that's all it is. Like, there's no difference between a 100K biller and $1 million biller other than what the expectations they set themselves are and their limiting belief.
So what about the next transition? So you were obviously £1 million biller. What was the trigger moment that made you want to set up your own company?
So I think a lot of people are born entrepreneurs. Like, some people are born entrepreneurs. They're going to do it. I was not that way. I had a wonderful 5 years at Start May. Like, I learned so much. And I was like, okay, well, I'm as high as I can get. And I want to do things a bit differently, but it wasn't my business. I was like, okay, well, I have some ideas and this is how I'm thinking about things. And I really want to do this, right? And I think it will be well liked and respected. And they didn't want to do that. And so I looked at a couple of other opportunities and it was kind of more of the same. And so I couldn't find a person that I wanted to I was desperate to work for, a company that I really wanted to be a part of. So I was kind of like, well, I guess I'll do it myself. Like, if the way I'm looking at things is really the right way to do things and no one else is going to give you the platform to do that, let's do this, right? Let's do this. And I have almost unwavering is unfair, because there's days where I struggle, but like I have a really high sense of self-belief in myself. I think I'm aware I'm not a 10 out of 10 in looks, but I see a 10. Like, I see a 10 every day. And that's how I conduct myself. And that's how I carry myself. And so, like, for me, I was fairly confident that it was going to work out. So I went through the process and I was like, I can do this. Like, I get hired by any recruitment business. I truly believe that. If this didn't work out, it's fairly low risk. But I was like, I'm gonna roll with this. And, went through the process, interviewed with a couple of other places, had some unbelievable offers. And I was like, no, it's time for me to go. I'm going to do this.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so thinking about that moment, what options were you looking at in order to start your own business? And what made you choose Recruit Hub?
Yeah, so the first things first was, is it me or is it other people too? And that was the first starting point. And this is where I kind of have all the people that I've worked with historically, who is either the yin to my yang, or who am I good giving half of all of my effort to? Because that's what I would have to do if I start with a partner, right? It's me and you, 50-50, probably. Otherwise, it's really difficult otherwise. And I didn't know that I had that person at that moment in time where I wanted to, hey, come and do this with me. And so I made the decision to go solo, which is a tough decision. It's a lonely road, and we can talk about that in a bit. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm really just a good biller that's done a bit of management. So what the heck do I do from here? And so, I had a lot of interested investors. I had a lot of people that wanted to give me money and still do, and we haven't taken it. But I spoke to a couple of options, and look, the truth is, Edmund's magic got me. I really liked the way that Recruit Hub packaged things up, and the whole concept was, hey, Stu, like, we're going to get you from 0 to 1. Like, I don't know how to file, or I don't have a really good layer of financials. Even though I'm good with numbers, I don't understand fully the layers of a P&L sheet, or what legal terms look like, or how to draw an employment contract, or how to hire in different states. And Recruit Hub did all the heavy lifting for me so that I could just go and bill. I loved the oversight, but not overreach. I'm strong. You probably spoke to Edmund about me. I have strong opinions, and there's times where Edmund's like, hey, probably don't do that. And there's times where he's like, all right, I'm going to let you make this mistake yourself. And I appreciate that, because I have to make those mistakes. And some of the conversations that we've had have probably saved me a huge amount of money in equity. So Recruit Hub have definitely paid for themselves 10 times over. But I think that was the decision process for me. I didn't want another boss. If I look at one of my weaknesses, I do have a bit of an authority problem, probably stopped me at school. And I don't know that I was the easiest guy as an employee either. I didn't want a boss, but I needed somebody who, when I needed them, picked up the phone. When I have problems, they come with solutions. They knew my blind spots. A lot of mine is the layers of detail. If I look at things like my career progression, if I look at things of hiring triggers and org structures, that's where Recruit Hub have been brilliant. They haven't overstepped or made it all about the granular details for me, because that's not how I respond. They've allowed me to flourish.
Yeah, amazing. What kind of preconceptions do you think you had about being a founder that actually may have not come into fruition when you first started the journey?
I thought it'd be easier than this, which is really naive, right? I've seen people go through trials and tribulations and fail and succeed and fail again. And for 10 years, everything I touched turned to gold, like everything, right? And so things here haven't worked out, but it's all part of the journey and all part of the process. So I know I'm sure there's some people that have this is easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a breeze. I thought it would be 20 million now. And that's probably an overstatement, but we started at a challenging time too, as tech took a little bit of a beat. And I was grateful to be lean in tough times where we saw the recruitment industry have to go through tough decisions and some businesses not work out. And so we had, not many recruiter licenses and low overhead. So it was a great time to be lean and really get our habits sharpened. I think the other thing is, some people think that oh, you're your own boss, you probably get loads of vacation and loads of time and freedom. Nah, my job is never off, and it's hard and it's challenging, and you'll have sleepless nights. You'll dream about cash flow. And so I think people don't realize the emotional burden that it is, especially I'm the sole income of our house. I've put the future of my family and now other people's families on my shoulders. And look, I'm sure that it's going to work out for me financially, and it already has, but I'm putting up a bunch of risk. And it's not even about the risk for me. I put a lot on my shoulders, both for my family, the team, the clients we deal with. And that's a heavy baggage I think, now that I'm bringing some leadership to the team, I can share some of that responsibility out. But knowing that I've had to be the hero for my family, and sometimes the business at times for the first couple of years, that burden has been tough. I think we're past that stage now where we're creating a culture and a team of heroes. But to get things going, I think the founder has to be the hero. Otherwise, where does the money come from for growth and to stimulate that? That was a tough burden. And look, there's going to be different reasons why the stress and pressure comes. So I think you've got to be mentally ready for it. And I think the one thing that I have is an amazing partner. My wife she knows this, right? And she knows all the upside. We have a nice life and good holidays and stuff like that. But she's all in too. right? I think you need that stability of home life. If your partner is worried about things like this, like these are huge decisions that you make together. And my wife is all in. She cares about the business. She cares about the people in the business. And having that and knowing that I have to travel and I have to make tough decisions and that I need to stay up at night because I have to get a shortlist out by the morning. Having someone in my corner who knows that and also invests in me in terms of she knows when I'm struggling and knows when to pull me out of the clouds and stuff like that. Like we would not, without my wife, Bridget, like we wouldn't be here. Like Hampton North wouldn't exist and it would not have had the success that it had.
And I think it goes back to, especially when you're a solo founder, the business is you. And actually it's so easy for people to bring work home. You know, around that, I guess you've already talked about a level of stability in people's lives. What are the things do you think that people need to be conscious of when they're thinking about, do I make this leap?
I think they have to be all in on it. I talk about on a podcast, I talked about burning the boats, right? Don't keep your CV up to date. Don't keep interviewing at places. Like you have to be all in on it. You can't half-ass building a recruitment company. Like, and I think some people think they can, and you need to go all in. And I went too close to all in. I nearly ran out of money for a bit. So I went real close, but it's worked out. On the flip side to that, it's a fairly low risk situation, really, unless you're burning a ton of cash. Like, most people are not taking out funding, even if they're taking out loans. Like I know, like in the grand scheme of things, what's 50 grand, right? For most people who are at this level, like if it doesn't work out, you'll go and get a job. You were probably pretty good in the first place. You'll probably go and make 150 somewhere else. You're going to be fine, right? Like you're not taking on huge amounts of debt. You shouldn't be remortgaging your house or anything like that. And, you know, I was thankful enough. I had a nest egg. Like we came out with, you know, good foresight that we weren't going to make money for 6 months, and that's okay. So I think that kind of financial preparedness is important. And then like the hardest thing in the early transition is you go from having such a strict regime and having a boss and knowing what the expectations are to redefining your own expectations. So you forget to work out, you forget to shut your laptop at night, you don't know how to make phone calls anymore, or what time, or when do I do my emails, or what to put in the CRM? Because you're basically accountable for everything. The biggest challenge for me was those first 2 months on my own. I was like, what the fuck do I do? The second you hire someone, you become accountable because now you know that you need to set expectations and bring opportunities and things like that. So I found the first 2 months as a solo founder really difficult because I kind of just didn't know what to do, which is so strange to think about. But because there was so much to do, you end up doing nothing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to be fair, you know, ever since I've joined Recruit Hub, some of the conversations I've been having with founders in their first kind of couple of months, a lot of it is them sitting down with me going, I don't know how to make a call. You know, I don't know. I just got out of bed this morning, got in front of my laptop, and it's kind of like almost working through that with people because they're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing now. Yeah,
and it's like, hey, like, have you been to the gym? When did you used to go to the gym when you were working? Cool, get that back in your routine. And I went through a phase of that early this year, and you can't control everything that happens in recruitment, but you can control how you respond to it. And I was very cloudy in January from a headspace perspective. So cool, I'm going to get a trainer and a nutritionist because I can control that, right? Like and things weren't falling my way, but I was getting shitty. Normally I don't get shitty. And I was like, cool, I have to change my attitude to things. And funnily enough, when you change your attitude to things, good things start happening, right? So I think like habitually having a structure, like now I have an office that I walk to, go home. And so I go through my process, right? In the morning, I'm not getting up, sitting on my laptop. I'm hanging out with Eloise, going for a walk with the dogs and stuff like that. 5. I finish work early. I finish at 5. I go and have dinner and do bath time with my kid, and then I carry on my work into the evening 3 nights a week. But that kind of infinite open laptop, you end up becoming non-productive because you don't have an end or shit, I need to get this done by then, because everything can wait because your laptop is open from 7 till 10. You know, you're fluttering in between. Maybe you're watching, you know, Great British Bake Off in the background or something like that. And you end up getting nothing done because nothing is urgent or a priority. Whereas if you create structure and you have to get something done by a certain time, and you know, humans are creatures of habit, right? We love that consistency of knowing what we're doing. And like, I even look at how I dress, right? Like I'm like, wow, I have plain t-shirts, plain, like everything is boring because I don't have to think about it in the morning. And I know that it fits. I buy the same brand of everything in different colors. And like, even when I come on like trips, like my wife will basically pick my outfits. So I'm trying to use like, okay, where can I use my brain power? And even like stuff like that, you overthink as like a new founder. You're like, all right, where can I take the thinking out of stuff? And if things become automatic, cool. At 7, I go and get my coffee every morning. Get that as a habit. Okay, cool. At 12:30, half an hour, I listen to a podcast and eat some lunch. And I shut my laptop for a little bit. So those little habits along the way, like that's what creates discipline. Whereas if you're just a relentless kind of void of 7 to 10, my laptop's open and I don't have a to-do list, it's screwed.